Mornings like these are exactly why I fell in love with Prince Rupert. The ocean is a sheet of glass, heavy blanket of mist laying in the trees, all a beautiful byproduct of Canada's rainiest city. But today we are pushing on a little bit further. If you've been a long-time viewer, you'll remember a disastrous ferry crossing with the motorhome. Ended up getting high-centered, holding up traffic for about an hour while we waited for the tide to come in. And that was the deciding moment to officially build the new rig. So today we're heading over to Lac Willam's to conquer the ferry and do some exploring on one of the most beautiful places on the west coast of BC. Let me run you through the challenge of this particular boarding and why it was such an issue with the motorhome. This is the ramp, and of course, the angle changes with the tide. So with the motorhome, I did book the highest tide that was available within the weeks that I was visiting here, and loading was not really a huge deal. Came on, no problem, everyone was prepared with dunnage and everything. It was getting back off. We were at about a half tide coming in, and I came up with the motorhome, was going up, started to drag the trailer hitch, and they told me to power through, and you can still see my hole. And then I was stuck here for about 40 minutes. We had to wait for the tide to come in, lift up the ferry, give us a little less angle, and then climbed on out. With the new rig, should be piece of cake. Last time it was like 30 minutes of screwing around and a whole bunch of angry other passengers.
That was smooth.
It was smooth. Piece of cake.
The Nicola, she's an old boat. BC Ferries owns the boat. Lac Willam's, they run and operate it. She was built in around 1960. She's an old boat. She's going into refit in August, and I'm not sure how many more refits she has, but it's been serving Lac Willam's, I believe. What was it, Darren? It's about 98, yeah, 1998. And they just recently just paved the road. So I mean, they used to go outside to Port Simpson, and yeah, it's very recent that it's been coming up to Tuck Inlet. It's a 40-minute run out of Prince Rupert, and coming into Tuck Inlet, it's 40 minutes. We serve 15 cars and about 95 passengers. That's what we can hold on the boat, yeah.
Already traffic pulling off. You guys have a good day.
Thanks, sir.
See you on your way back.
Yep.
I will find my way to the coast, where the water meets me.
Welcome to the end of Tuck Inlet and the beginning of a quite short but very beautiful drive to Lac Willam's. here we are in the beautiful Lac Wallams. Great place to enjoy the ocean, learn about some history and culture, but we're here for a very specific reason. I've been chasing a particular story now for several years, but there's one more location I have to get to. There's several ways we could get there, but dealing with a small boat in a big ocean, safety is paramount. I've mapped us out the safest possible route, but it's still a pretty long run, about 80 kilometers return. But at least going down the Portland Passage, we're pretty sheltered. The only real risk or challenge with a trip like this is wind, and it's calling for a max of 7 knots today, which is higher than I would typically go out in, especially with a passenger. But this little boat can do shallow water pretty well, and I've mapped out some really neat little passages. I think it's going to be a really good day. Off to what appears to be a bit of an unfortunate start. We have a westerly wind and an incoming tide, but this first section should be our only real challenge. Just starting to whitecap, so we'll kind of just chug our way through there and then should be in the clear. If we're not, we'll be heading back to camp. Just making our way into Canoe Pass, which is going to go into Work Channel. And if you're in anything other than a full-on ocean boat or a slack tide, this is how you want to get into Work Channel, because the tide just flies through the mouth. You'll be dealing with a fair bit of tide here as well, so if you're in a canoe or a kayak, plan your tides accordingly. But in a small boat like this, it's no problem. And it's just a beautiful little run through here. Things are looking really good. We're just coming into basically the mouth of Work Channel. Things are calm as can be, just perfect out here. Do you?
Yeah, I've seen your videos.
Right on.
That's awesome.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
How are you doing?
Good, you?
Good. Just wondering if you guys have seen any whales hanging out in the channel. Yeah? I'm back there already.
Awesome.
Right
Okay,
on.
well, cheers, guys.
Thanks for your
Pleasure
time.
to meet you. Stop by anytime.
Appreciate it. Nice folks here. Sounds like there is some hunchbacks close by. Not sure if we'll be able to track them down, but I guess these are rentals here. I think he said it's called Victory Cove. I'll definitely be taking a look when we get back. Feels great to be back in the channel, and the weather is finally cooperating with us. It's just beautiful in here. I've been looking for spouts and I don't see anything, so we're gonna continue on our path. We're taking Emma Passage. This is Hogan Island on the left. Pacific Ocean is not really known for beautiful clear water, but when you get this far north, look at this. Just crystal clear. So we see some grizz bears up ahead. Looks like a mom and 2 cubs. I'm gonna get out the long lens and see if I can get a shot. These bears out here in the midst of nowhere, they're pretty skittish around boats, so we probably won't be able to get very close. Oh, the cubs looking at us. Oh my goodness, they're both looking right at us. You can tell just how skittish these bears are out here. Don't ever see humans. We're probably couple hundred feet offshore still, and Mom was looking right at us, mouth wide open. She rounded up the cubs and into the woods they went. Just perfect kind of encounter. Gave them their space. We stayed nice and safe out here, and now we can continue on. So we're just coming out of Emma Pass, and we'll be going into Steamer Pass, which will take us around Somerville Island. Now, if you're a longtime viewer, you probably have figured out what we're searching for today, but if you're still trying to figure it out, let's do a little recap from a previous season. Today's story takes us back to a fundamental date in North America's history, 1867, when British North America became Canada and Russian America became Alaska. And of course, with these two countries sharing the same landmass, an official border had to be determined. A final decision on the border lines stayed dormant for nearly 30 years, but discovery of gold in the Klondike, and of course the need for accessible ports, kicked things into high gear. The final stretch of border separating British Columbia from Alaska runs basically down the center of the 114-kilometer-long Portland Canal. And at the southern end of that lies two large islands, Pierce and Wales, determined to be on the Canadian side. In August 1896, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers allocated $5,000 to conduct a survey of the Portland Canal, but being already late in the summer, there wasn't enough time to complete the work, so a team of 23 people were sent out to prepare storehouses and supplies for the following year. In just 17 days, the team erected 4 stone buildings measuring 3.5 meters wide, 5 meters long, and 2.5 meters tall, with 1 door, 1 window, and a cedar shingle roof. And on the front of each building read U.S. property, do not injure. But 2 of the storehouses were built accidentally on Canada's Pierce and Wales Island. Though it took Canada 5 years to discover this mistake, once the word got out, concern was that the houses were built intentionally to lay claim to the islands as U.S. territory. The dispute over the islands went back and forth for a total of 7 years, but was solved without raising arms and leaving Pierce and Wales Island on the Canada side. Being such a remote location, 3 of the 4 buildings have been basically forgotten and unseen for nearly 130 years. Mother Nature has of course reclaimed the cedar roofs, but the stone walls stand as strong today as they did then. Well, this is our second of 3 possible rough spots today. Sure enough, the rollers are just big enough to kind of surf with the little boat. I'm hoping we can get around this corner and I'll hug the mainland on the way in. Should be pretty good. Off the port side here is Somerville Island. This is my first time exploring back in here, and it is absolutely glorious. Reminds me of Milford Sound in New Zealand. It's Milford Sound has the highest vertical peak coming out of the ocean in the world, Mitre Peak. That's what this reminds me of. I know there's lots of folks in Southern Hemisphere that follow Destination Adventure. Big thanks to my Southern Hemisphere fans. I hope you enjoy the British Columbia fjords as well. Take a look at Mr. Somerville over here. Absolutely freaking spectacular. Dr. Somerville has been our guardian all the way, provided us some beautiful calm water, lots of beautiful scenery, no whales, but also no complaints. Not that I want to give away all the sexy secret adventure spots, but I think a trip around Somerville Island should be on everyone's BC bucket list. We saw one boat coming out of Work Channel and nothing else. No logging, no mining, just pristine nature the way it's been forever. We're just coming into Portland Canal. Actually, it's Portland Passage still at this point. On the other side of this island, there's another channel, and that's the Alaska side. Where they meet up there, that's where it turns into Portland Canal. We're gonna shoot straight across, which should bring us to our official destination. Heck of a run today. All three of our open water crossings today were quite miserable, but funny enough, the overall distance was less than I had plotted. Not sure who was in charge of the mapping, must have been Mick. Nevertheless, we're just getting to our bay here. And somewhere hidden behind the tree line in this bay should be Stone Storehouse number 2. What a desolate and unforgiving place this is. The wind really picked up on us here, which is slightly disconcerting. Emmy's holding down the fort. Found her a nice warm place to hunker down for a little bit. I'm gonna see if I can go find this thing. They can be a bit of a challenge to find because they use just local material and then hide it just in behind the tree line. But there's only so many places it can be, so I presume we will be successful. No storehouse yet, but I found a marker. Really fresh bear scat right there. I think it would be a better decision to take the boat over a couple beaches and then just hike in from the shoreline. No luck. I'm thinking it's by that creek over there. Emmy's a super tough girl, but she's pretty out of her element out here. Don't want to leave her for too long, so heading back to retrieve her. Hop out for a second. Well, it's a really unfortunate call, but we might have to head back. Pretty devastating because we've come all this way. Just not worth the risk. I'll take one look over here. If the bay is calmer, pull the boat up, but just filled the boat with water trying to get launched. Good job. Yeah. Loving it! The black bear over there by the creek, and it's actually nice and calm in the bay right here, so I think I'll pull the boat up and take a look in and along this bank. I'm guessing it's gonna be right in here. It's a great spot for it. The tide's going out, so it should be no problem to leave the boat. But this forest looks quite dense. I can hardly believe it. We pulled the boat up, second peek into the forest, and this is certainly the hardest one I've found so far and the most overgrown, but found it. Here we are. Storehouse number 2. The lens all covered in ocean water now. Yeah. Can you believe that old wood still hanging in there? Crazy. See if I can get back for one more closer look. Look at the moss growing out of here. But this one, if it wasn't just a flat surface, I wouldn't have even recognized. But looking through the forest right here, I could see in and just like a flat wall. So I knew that was it. And what the heck else could it be? But can you believe all those miles, all that friggin' angry water today, just for this? Pretty rad though, can't lie. And a fresh bear scat right in front of it. The United States wanted this territory pretty bad. I don't know why, because 3 of the storehouses, that's the only thing on the land. No houses, no anything. Well, I think our first crossing here across the Portland Passage is gonna be uncomfortable, and then around Somerville Island should be pretty nice, and then smooth sailing home, I hope. But I am so thankful we found it. I was seriously this close to just calling it and going home. Hate risking it like that, but I'm happy we pulled up for a second try. Let's get the heck out of here. If you thought I got wet launching the boat up to my knees, you should have seen us on that crossing. Absolute nightmare. But we're just coming back into Steamboat Pass. Should be easy peasy.
Well, it's been pretty fun watching Emmy start to fill into her adventure shoes. I think this was probably the most consistent bad weather I've had on one of these big ocean trips. But nevertheless, we got to our destination and finally got to cross this one off the list. This has been a really interesting story that I've been pursuing for a few years now, and it's a really exciting one because this is a piece of history between Canada and the United States that's been basically forgotten, and it's only been possible for me because of leads that come through this channel. I've tried really hard to source an interview for this one, but it's just one of those places that it's so far out there, nobody really knows about it. So if anyone's watching this and you're well versed on the subject, you like to sit down for a conversation, please reach out to me. Most of all, thanks for watching, everybody. As always, take nothing but pictures, leave nothing but footprints, and I'll catch you on the next one.